Welcome to the Men's Journal Everyday Warrior podcast. I'm your host, Mike Sarraille. I'm joined today by Odell Beckham Jr. For those that have been living under a rock, Odell Beckham Jr. is going down as one of the best wide receivers in history. Former LSU football star, first round draft pick, Super Bowl champion, Pro Bowler, credited with probably the catch of the century, and just an overall badass. Odell, thank you for coming on, man.
Yes, sir. Appreciate that. Appreciate that intro too. I don't mind that.
It's well deserved. Hey, this is a great segue, man. Given the amount of success you've received, people know that one, you almost come from LSU royalty in a sense. Your dad was a well-known football player. Your mom was a track icon. I'm assuming most people look at you and they're like, yeah, he just had natural talent. It was easy for him. But yet I remember when you were drafted that day, that night, you literally had tears coming down your face, man, which I love seeing grown men cry because there's nothing more manly. When people dismiss everything that you've achieved, the level of excellence you've achieved because where you come from, what do you say to that, man? What don't they see behind the scenes?
Yeah. So, for me, I absolutely love it. I absolutely love the dismissive kind of talk as if, which my mom was a world-class athlete and my dad was, a world-class athlete himself growing up. But I know some of the best kids from where I grew up at who didn't make it, and everybody talks about us about, natural ability and all these things. At the end of the day, you still have to work. I could have all the talent in the world. I could be a knucklehead. I could have all the talent in the world. I could, just not take advantage of those opportunities. So for me, when I grew up in my very early childhood, like I didn't have it the way that I have it where everyone sees that I went to Newman and they see that I went to the school where Eli and Peyton went. And it's like this, silver spoon kind of mentality and all that. And it's like, yeah, that could be great. You could sit there and you went to this great school and all that. But like at the end of the day, nobody cares about that unless you can achieve what you can achieve with your actual ability. So for me, I grew up, split homes, mom's dad, and my mom was, single parent, and she worked for every single thing to be able to provide for me a pair of cleats or that video game that I wanted. But in getting that pair of cleats or video game that I wanted, it was all about the lessons and being able to accomplish things to where that was my reward. So for me, like I didn't have it growing up easy from 1 to 6 to 7, 8, 9 years old. It wasn't the easiest. And then moving to New Orleans, like it wasn't an easy place to grow up in. Granted that I did go to a good school. So like for me, it's just kind of funny to me because I also feel like I'm old enough and mature enough now to know that that's how the world works. Like I always talk about this, there's a reason why we call a UFO a UFO. Like we have to be able to put our finger on something and identify it for us to feel comfortable with it, because I feel like we're not cool or okay with the unknown. And for me, I feel like that's just what I've always been. People have kind of been an unknown thing. So people have to put a name or a label or he's this or that, all the names that came with what I've done in the league, a diva, all of the negative things that have gone on. It's because I feel like people were just uncomfortable with who I truly was. And for me, that was something that, later on became a strength for me. But I worked for every single thing that I have now. And I think that's why, like you mentioned, when I got drafted, you could see, real emotion because I remember sacrificing weekends. I remember sacrificing time with your family, sacrificing, those days to go hang out with your friends just to go do some extra to be great. So for me, again, like I say, I was blessed with two parents who were phenomenal athletes and also knew what it was going to take for me to get there. So they pushed me and tried to put me in the best situation to succeed. But at the end of the day, it's, they can teach you all these things in the world, but you have to get between those lines and still do it and prove it. And I feel like I've done a very good job at that. And it's just, it's funny that people try and discredit you and all the things that you've accomplished, but I earned every single thing that I have now, and I worked very hard for it.
People dismiss other people because it makes it easier for them to except that they weren't willing to put the work in to achieve what they wanted. And so you earned every bit of what you've strived for. With that, in the work ethic we know that you have, you are no stranger to injuries, and in the sport of football, that's just an inevitability. But it seems like every time you're injured, you come back stronger. When you face an injury, what are the initial thoughts going through your head? And is there a point where you just sort of switch and you're like, okay, now I got to put the work into to one, rehab to get better and come back stronger? What's your mentality when you face adversity like that?
I feel like this is something that I've wanted to talk about for a long time, because my very first injury, I could go through an injury history with you, but starting with that first major ankle injury in New York Giants, it's like what people don't understand is I had a grade 2.5 high ankle sprain, which my doctor told me do not come back for 8 weeks, And I remember I knew I was going to miss the first game. I'm looking at the second game. We lose the first game to Dallas. And me being the guy that everyone thinks I am, this selfish guy, he only cares about himself, all the bullshit that's ever gotten said, it makes, no sense to me why someone who only cares about himself would come back 4 to 5 weeks too early to go out there to play with his brothers, so that way we do have a chance to get to the playoffs. Instead of the selfish thing, which I should have done, was take that time, really heal, regardless if we win, lose, or draw, like look after yourself. And I probably wouldn't have had the downfall, the slopes of injuries, because the ankle injury I had, fibula spiral fracture, having to get a plate, 9 screws, full syndesmosis tear, tight ropes. It's really a career-ending injury. And it just was something, I come back the 2018 season, and I tear my quad with 4 games left, and I had already had 1,000+ yards, 6 touchdowns, 77 receptions at that point. I still had 4 games left. This is after the first major surgery. And I remember the first time when I had that surgery, how hard I worked to come back. And I was like, however hard I work now, after I make it through this season, this is how I'm going to continue to work every offseason. Tore my quad 2018 year off I had got you get a thigh contusion or whatever, and then a hematoma formed in my quad, and then it burst in one of the games. And I was thinking all right, you strained quad muscle, you'll be back soon. And it just was something that took from, end of October or end of November all the way until March for me to be able to even train again. Okay, then train, I get traded to Cleveland. And right before the season starts, I get a little, strain in kind of like you're growing your lower ab muscle. And I was asking them, I remember specifically being like, is this, how hernia surgery and they sat there and told me, no, this isn't it. And I said I wasn't going to take any more cortisone shots. And of course, you want to play that bad. You're like, all right, I'm just going to do it. Ended up having a full evulsion fracture of my groin on the left side, which means the muscle comes off the bone. And I was playing the entire season of 2019 with that. Literally can't lift my leg on the table from Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday. Just finding a way to scratch and claw through it. I remember I had the hernia surgery. I wouldn't suggest getting it ever in my life. It was probably the worst pain that you could possibly be in. I had that surgery. I come back 2020 season. And it just was a very unfortunate event of my cleat catching the turf the wrong way, me being in a rage mode on an interception, which truly, if someone was selfish and didn't care for anybody else, I probably wouldn't have chased Buddy down, because it won't lie to you, it wasn't my fault. And I'm still trying to go make a play, and I'm running in full rage, and then I kind of catch myself as a pile's coming to me. And I try to hit the brakes, and my cleat slid farther than what I needed to. And then when it caught, your knee shifted. I tore my ACL. And this was the craziest part about when I tore my ACL. I remember being at 5 months, and people were like, there's no way that you're doing what you've done already. And again, like you were saying, I come back stronger. It's just a mentality that you have to have. And I don't think someone who doesn't have the heart, I always talk about this. I talk about everything that I've been through in my career, whether it's injury, whether it's situations that I've been in. You name me any of the top guys, any top receiver, any of these guys who they think don't have ego or don't want the ball in their hands and all this, put them through everything that I've been through, and I would love to see which one of them is still standing. You know what I mean? That's the that's the reality of it. Is I've been through some shit for real, and like other people have had it way easier than I've had it. So when I tore my ACL this time, trained harder than I've ever trained. I was beyond ready. I was bigger than I had ever been. I was ready to come back, have a great year, and whatever happens in Cleveland, and it happens, and it just sometimes the story doesn't go the way that we want, and we split our ways, and I had the opportunity to pick wherever I wanted to go, and the Rams thing kind of happened, and I believe that this was already a great team. I always, LA Rams was the only franchise that I had ever truly loved. Crazy enough, I remember Tom Brady beating them in the Super Bowl. I remember it's just been that one organization for me. And when I signed with the Rams, we did an MRI, and the doc, who I'm very close friends with now, Dr. Elitrage, he had to drive up. So I landed at 9, did an MRI. I'm in the building by 10. I don't sign until 5, 6 p.m. because they had to inform me pretty much that my ACL there was no ACL. This was after the ACL surgery. He said, you don't have a clear ACL in here. And I remember him sitting there with me right then and there, week 9 or whatever it was. This was right after my birthday. Not expecting to hear this news. He's like, you don't have ACL. He's like, we could redo your surgery now. And I basically told him, like, bro, I've been through so much shit already. Like, there's no way that I'm going to sit here and get this surgery again. I told him, literally looked him in his eyes. I said, I'll die on the sword. And each week he would come up to me. He's like, I don't know how you're doing it. He's like, I just don't understand how you're doing it. How do you feel? And this is a story that people don't know. And I remember like putting a little tweet about it out, and they were like, it's bullshit. If you don't have ACL, you can't do it. Or if you had a torn ACL, I was like, I didn't say I had a torn ACL. I said I didn't have an ACL. And it just was kind of something that, became like a little insider between, Coach McVay, like the guys on the team knew and Doc knew. And it just was something that they were like, I don't know how you're doing it. And then come Super Bowl time, I remember Cooper Kupp and I looked at each other after the NFC Championship, wishing that that would have been the Super Bowl, because we looked at each other and we was like, bro, I don't know if I could do this for another week. It just was, the season this is the longest season I had ever had. I just came back off of a surgery, and then it get to the Super Bowl, and I already told McVay, I said, when we win the Super Bowl, you got to let me design the ring. He said, if we win the Super Bowl, you got it. I said, all right, done deal. Going through the game plan, this is the hardest part for me to swallow, which is like, I'll never have this moment back, is if people were to sit there and be like, oh, he's only known for one lucky catch and da-da-da, even though you could go look at numbers and stats and all that, and it wouldn't say the same for someone who's missed 5 seasons but still is in top of the class for whatever and whatever. But the Super Bowl was going to be the game where I got to go to work. We had a game plan where we were going to put Coop on the other side. If they were going to double him, then I was going to eat all day. I was literally going to go for 220 yards, 3 touchdowns. Yeah. Like I really, it's not even like a coulda, woulda, shoulda, or if. Like, this was the reality of the situation that was going to happen. And I think that's the hardest part for me, is like, I finally get to, the epitome of success for your sport. And it's just like, out of everything anyone's ever said about me, like, I had never been so prepared in my life for a moment. I remember crying before the game, but it was crying as like God, like, thank you for finally giving me like this opportunity for like, I used to only be able to combat what people could say about me on the field. And then when you're hurt, you can't really, I could probably only exchange my words, So it just was like, it was very tough for me because I knew what I was going to do that day, and to have that moment taken away. It just was something that was not easy at all. And I still wish I could go back and just get 2 more quarters of that game. I promise you the game would not have been close. No disrespect to Cincinnati or anybody. It just was the game plan that we had. McVay really, like, when I got to the game, I was like, it's over with. And especially, as a receiver, you get your confidence early by getting a catch. And like, my first catch, comes, I don't know if it was late in the 4th or early in the 2nd quarter. Like, I finally get the ball and it's a touchdown. I was like, it's over with. Like, there's nobody who could say or do anything to me. There's no words that could be exchanged. Like, I wasn't even talking to nobody on the other side. That's how ready I was, for this game. So it just sucks because, you can't have that moment back. But, God and I already have a little promise to each other. It was, he said, I'll make sure that the champagne isn't so bittersweet this time. Next time you get your opportunity. So he already told me that I'll have another opportunity, and this time I'll be able to to really do what I'm capable of doing and wanted to do.
The Everyday Warrior comes out in January, when actually I'll be in Antarctica at the time. But the book is about warriors, and I'm not talking about like warriors in the military. I'm talking about warriors in life. And warriors hold themselves to high standards. I mean, dude, you scored the first touchdown of the game for your team, and that wasn't good enough for you. Those are high standards, man. And that's impressive, dude. I can tell you this: we're excited to see you come back when you come back, because we know you bring that excitement to the game. You bring the personality that people gravitate towards. Odell, I mean, I'm sure you've got little balance in life, because when you're trying to achieve what you're trying to achieve, you said it earlier, you're sacrificing weekends. I mean, you're one of the best. You're going to go down as one of the best in the NFL history. You've got, your social life. You're an entrepreneur. And speaking of entrepreneur, you worked on co-releasing, a product with Moon called the Water Flosser. Where in the hell did you have the time to do that? And tell us a little bit about that, man.
I mean, I find it to be somewhat easy when, the younger me, my mindset had shifted. The younger me would look for endorsements and, find where I can get a check. And my mind was just like, oh, if they're throwing money, like all I got to do is this. Like, yeah, I didn't have the concept and understanding of to align yourself with things that you're passionate about. For me, it was younger. It was about the money. Like, I got a whole bunch of family members. Like, I got to provide for everybody. I'm the one who keeps the ship afloat. And as I got older, I realized, no knock to anybody. 'Cause I mean, they dropped me. It was whatever. But like a Head and Shoulders, like, this is a product that like, this is not something that I align with. It was more for the endorsement. Okay, you use this for me, I get this and that. And again, like I was saying, as I got older, it was about aligning yourself with things that you're passionate about. And for me, my teeth was something I was always passionate about. I always was carrying floss sticks around. I always was, trying to brush my teeth at least twice a day. And, it's funny enough, I remember bringing to the Moon shoot way before any of this ever started to transpire. It was just in my bag because I was traveling. I had this big water flosser, and it just kind of, it was funny because they brought it to me, and it was like, it almost was like, how is everything so aligned perfectly? But they brought this, the portable water flosser to me and just showing me, something that, again, this is coming out on December 1st. And it just was, it was like, it just makes the most sense when you're passionate about something and everything's aligned. I think the rest of everything else takes care of itself. So it was teeth, hygiene, all these things were something that were very important to me. And Kendall's a good friend of mine. Actually, it's her birthday today. So shout out to Kenny, much love. Scorpio season in full effect. But just to be able to connect with her on something that she was passionate about. Yeah, okay. Really, birthday today. Just to be able to connect with something that she was passionate about and there was similar interests there. Like, bro, there's no better alignment than when it all flows together.
You said it comes out December 1st. Sounds like a perfect Christmas gift. Where can people find it? Amazon, the direct site? Is it in stores?
You can get it on moonoralcare.com. And I'm sure you heard that. It picked it up.
We'll make sure to add those links. I know my wife loves flosser, so I'll have to hook her up.
Absolutely.
Odell, I can't thank you enough for joining us, man. Again, we are looking forward. I say that for a lot of football fans, looking forward to getting you back. And for our listeners, again, hey, we're looking for support for 777 Expedition, 7 continents, 7 days, 7 skydives in honor of our fallen. We're also trying to raise 1,400 scholarships for military families and first responder families as well. So we will see you guys again on another episode of the Men's Journal Everyday Warrior podcast. Again, this has been Odell Beckham Jr. and Mike Sarraille. Till next time.